I think the same goes for Jeff Bezos.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess those billions of dollars make you better looking.
Yeah.
One thing I definitely was interested in talking about this morning. So we've always referred to your company as STRV.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but then we were like stalking your Instagram.
Yeah.
And like seeing like how you live life and like looking at your company and the culture and all of that. And then I was like, maybe it means strive. And is that not what it means, or does it just mean STRV?
That's where it comes from.
Okay.
We actually initially wanted to call the company Strive, and we have gone through a couple of rebrandings. I'm happy to talk about that too, to kind of figure out the best brand that will reflect who we are. But and for a moment we were actually using the name Strive, but we were not able to acquire the domain strive.com. That seemed to be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
And then it was just confusing, right? So I did not really want to confuse people when they hear about Strive and then it's STRV. So we just use STRV, but yeah, the word Strive is where it comes from.
Okay. Yeah. So it does match like the culture.
It does match the culture a lot. Yeah, that's for sure.
So like how did you first meet your co-founders?
We all pretty much met through studies. So we are 4 co-founders, and I went to high school with one of them. I went to college with 2 of them, and one of the co-founders went to a high school with the 4th one. So we know each other. Yeah, we have known each other for probably about 15 years, maybe even more. It's been a long time.
And then at what moment were you like, let's do a company together?
It was a process. It's not that like one day you decide, I mean, some people have that like that, but it was certainly not our case. In our case, it was more like step by step. And I was actually the last one to join. It was a little over 8 years ago. I was just I started as a freelance engineer doing small websites here and there. Then I kind of got to having bigger clients, and then I needed a partner. So one of my co-founders right now was actually helping me with the design, and the two other guys, they had it pretty much the same, so they also worked together. Then I left for studies in the UK, and I kind of stopped doing everything. I was like, now I enjoy the life in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And it was a hell of a year. I had a lot of fun, but I stopped pretty much working for that year, and that was the time when when my partner joined the guys, and then once I finished, it was a year and a half later. Then I was like looking for what to do, and that was pretty much a very easy choice to join them. And since then, we've been building the company. Made it from about probably less than 10 people when I joined to about 200 right now. And it's been a long journey.
So what were you studying?
I did information management, basically a mix between computer science and business degree. Which it's kind of rare that you actually study what you do, or at least like among my friends and people that I have around me. They go and they study history, and then they end up working in tech, for example. So in my case, it's actually I have studied what I do right now, and I think knowing the inside of the technology, knowing programming, and actually having an experience to to do that, and leading the team of engineers and doing all of that stuff around, I think sets me pretty well to support the company on the business side as well. And I would definitely not call myself as like purely business guy, because in the end, even the way how I approach, for example, sales or management is through a lens of an engineer. And like, I will rather focus on what's the value that we can bring rather than doing like a great sales pitch that will be full of superlatives and all that stuff. And I can't do that. Like, and especially like, I come from the Czech Republic, and we tend to be very humble and very reserved when it comes to self-presenting. So sometimes it's a little hard for me to switch between the two. So when I'm in Europe, in Prague, and I'm presenting something, I have to always remember that like I can't really use the common practice from the US, because a lot of people would think that I'm a douchebag.
I love it. Yeah.
Because like here it's way more common that like people are very good in presentations and like self-promoting them, and I don't mean it in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's a great skill, but I think overall people from Eastern and Central Europe are not in general that good at it. And so for me, when I go back and forth, I kind of have to switch the way how I speak with, for example, potential clients and yeah, the team.
Yeah. So I wanna understand that better, and I definitely see the culture differences, because I've gotten to travel like Sweden and visit some other places, and so I can tell that there's definitely different energies in the different locations. But like in your mind as a presenter, like what is the biggest difference, like in how you would differentiate like America versus Prague?
Yeah, it's there is.
We can edit it out. We can be as real as possible.
No, I mean, I would probably not say anything that would not be true or that I don't feel strongly about. But I think one piece is the self-promotion and kind of the public speaking skills in a way that, and I think that's certainly affected by kind of the regime and the era that we were growing in, or probably not me, but even like the previous generations. I think that like I haven't seen much. I think like for the majority of my life, everything was just fine. But the previous generations, they had a pretty tough time there. I don't think that's something that, here in the US, someone experienced a whole lot. There were other things, but...
So would it be like, if I were presenting, like the differences in me presenting, maybe there would be, here in America, there'd be more emphasis on like recognition I've received, awards I've won, things I've done, whereas there we would just go right into the business value.
100%. Yeah. And like, even when it comes to, for example, hiring or even application for a college, here in the US there's a whole lot of emphasis on what kind of volunteering have you done, and these sort of activities. And like, to be honest, now it starts to be happening in Europe too. But for example, when I was applying for a college, no one cared at all. It was purely about like, what are your grades? How well did you do on this application test? And that was it, right? So I think here there's a bit more soft skills and that kind of experience involved. So that's also one of the differences. And like, then what it also comes down to is the way how the business is conducted. And like, to be honest, that was one of the huge reasons why we decided to move over from Europe to do business in the US, because it was just not fun. It's extremely hard or at least it was. I think it's changing a little, or it has changed since then. But let's say 8 years ago, or even longer than that, people just did not see a whole lot of value, and they were always like, they would always go after the lowest price tag.
In Europe?
Yeah.
That's I love that you say that, because I stopped running ads in Europe for our leadership company because the sales cycle over there is so different. First of all, it's 10 times longer. It's like a much longer sales cycle, and then and nothing like bad about the people. It's just how they were purchasing was irregular to how we're used to doing it in the United States. And it was just happening faster, or it would be more clear if we're doing this or not. And over there, it was less clear. Like, are we moving forward? Are we doing this? Like, what's going on? And so for that reason, being, a startup, we just said, let's just focus on companies right here in the United States.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And we had the same, we were in front of the same decision, basically, 8 years ago, when we were kind of on the verge whether we continue doing something in Europe or whether we go full on and we move over to the US. And that's what we did in the end. But, the sales cycle is way longer. It's not as relationship based as it's here, right? Here, if you like someone and you feel like they would be a good partner, you figure out a way how to make it work. Although in Europe they will mostly, and I don't want to...
Yeah, we're generalizing a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to generalize entirely, because since recently we have some great cooperations in Europe too. But it was a lot of just comparing kind of the numbers without even looking what these numbers mean, which oftentimes is also very important in order to kind of decide what company would you want to go with.
And so what's your primary product that you sell? What's the primary way you generate revenue?
So STRV is basically a boutique design and engineering company that helps our clients and partners to build custom software solutions, and that's our major part of the business. We help companies not just here in the US, but now pretty much all over the world to build great pieces of software that help their business, and that's what we have been doing over.
You have great designers.
The past decade.
Great design team. Whenever I talk to people and I'm researching their companies, I don't tell people when they have bad design, but whenever I see people that have good design, I'm like, oh, you've got really good design. Yeah.
It's been a big passion of ours to make sure that everything is really polished, and I think that since the very early days of doing mobile applications, we always wanted to be standing out, and it's partially about standing out, but also about sticking with kind of the general guidelines of the platforms, right? Because it's funny, but what you would see often that if you look at how iOS application looks like and Android application looks like, and these groups of users, they have totally different patterns, how they interact and so on. You can't make the same app for both platforms, and oftentimes you would see, oh, there is an iOS pattern applied on Android, and you don't wanna mess with that. And I think that it's about visuals, but it's also about trying to fit within the platform the best way possible and making the user experience great. And that's just part of I think the core, but I'm very happy that you mentioned
because it seeps through your entire company. I saw your shirts. You guys have different shirts, right? And they're Like more than just the ones that
This is the simple one.
That's the simple one.
Yeah.
You got some really cool looking ones, like, and then you also, I don't know which office it was in, but I saw you have this this like wall. It's like this designed wall.
Yeah.
It's like this is STRV.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, oh, I wonder if he has a designer that's like just working on internal company brand stuff, because you put a lot of little detail into everything.
Yeah, actually, my co-founder was laughing that the company must be doing really good. Like he's focusing on our spin-off startup right now. So actually, all 3 co-founders are focusing on spin-off startup right now. So it's just me from the co-founding team running the business right now. And yeah, he was laughing because he saw that we have produced like a really nice video of just presenting a hoodie or like a sweatshirt that we have made for the team for this past holidays as a gift. So like if you can dedicate lot of time into making something like this, which clearly has very close to zero business value, then I guess you must be doing something good. But yeah, it has close to zero business value, but it has a huge value for brand promotion and more importantly for the team internally.
Well, if you make quality stuff that looks good and it's like good material, like, do you have them for sale online?
We don't. We have realized, like, it was our idea. We have really cool merch.
It says, in my head it reads STRV. Like, that's a brand that, like, I would wear a STRV hoodie because it's like that's how I identify as a person. Like, I'm a person who's always...
We'll get you a hoodie.
Can I have a hoodie?
Yeah, of course.
You should put them online for sale. People would buy your stuff.
We were thinking about it, but then we were like, oh, we don't really want to handle that, and we don't even want to, like, it comes with
a process.
Like, yeah,
you gotta do drop shipping, merchandise, customer success.
Exactly. If someone does it for us, then maybe we'll consider. Yeah.
Get like an intern on it, and like start by just selling it to like your friends or people.
I think that there is even like good companies that can like pretty much power the whole thing for you.
Yeah, like my book I sell, I do nothing. Like Amazon has they print the copies as they need them on demand. And they fulfill it, and they just take a chunk of it. I don't have to do... I'm sure there's some Shopify... We just had the CTO of Shopify on, like, last week.
Oh!
I'm sure there's some, like, on-demand service where you just upload your graphics and you have your hoodie and stuff. Yeah.
There's many services like that. I think the one that we used quite a bit is Custom Ink.
Okay.
And, yeah, they do pretty nice stuff.
Do they have... See, like... Because the only problem with the services is, like... You want the hoodie to be quality, right? Like so when did you order like blanks from Custom Ink? Is that how you did it?
We just ordered smaller batches to test it out, and then once we felt that's the right thing.
So they had like the base hoodie that you could then customize. Yeah. And it was like a nice quality.
Yeah, and they have different like kind of levels of quality. That
they do.
Pick, so
nice.
It's not that... Yeah, they have a lot of stuff. But, like, we have a good partner in Prague, and what I like about them is that you can actually interact with them in person, and you can, this way, get to, like, a really high-quality product. So
nice. That face-to-face interaction is something that's so important in business. It's definitely something...
That's right. And especially if you are, like, managing a company across the pond.
Yeah.
You realize that more and more, and we got tools for it, so we can make it work, but we also do fly a lot.
I also saw because I totally stalked your Instagram for like an hour because it's really good. Like you have really good pic. I was wondering, I was like, who is taking these pictures of him all the time? Like, do you travel with somebody? Like,
no.
For
the most part, it's just random people.
Random stranger. You're like, hey, can you take a picture of me?
Either that or I just put the phone somewhere.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, soon we're going to have, like, the phone be able to just, like, float in the air. Yeah.
Hopefully.
So I saw your Occupy Mars shirt.
Uh-huh.
So I have that shirt.
Yeah.
For Halloween, like, 3 years ago, I wore that shirt, and then I had my wife wear, like, a sexy red dress. and she had a name tag that said Mars, and I had a name tag that said Musk, and so I was Elon Musk and she was Mars for Halloween.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that shirt.
I can't come up with a better Halloween costume. Yeah, so
once the flights to Mars open, would you consider taking a trip? Or would you consider taking a one-way trip? I think that's a better question.
So the one-way trip is absolutely not. Yeah, I'm not interested in the one-way trip. I hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, I do the one-way trip. It'd be great to die on Mars." I feel like I just turned 32 like last week, and I feel like I'm just getting started and excited about life. You know, like I always have that like just getting started feel.
Yeah, I have that every day.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the beginning. Now it's the time. Now it's when it's but I think it's good. And also like we are about the same age. I'm gonna turn 32 in July.
Yeah.
So I also look at it from the point of view that I want to make sure that I don't wait for anything, right? I keep enjoying the life as I go through it. But it's super interesting as you see that, new opportunities are opening up for you.
I did that a lot in my 20s when I was just programming and designing like 24/7. I would say like, oh, I'm not going to be happy now. I'll be happy when I hit this certain mark. No. And then as the time kept going on and that mark kept moving farther ahead, I realized I will never be happy. Like I will die unhappy. I have to figure out how to develop a mindset or I have to figure out how I can be happy now while also achieving this other thing. And that's when I got into reading like personal development books and like watching videos and like Tony Robbins type stuff.
Yeah.
You ever get into any of that?
Sometimes, not a whole lot. I think that for some reason I don't need to seek this like external motivation because I got it inside of me.
Yeah.
So it helps me to stay the course. I know what I'm doing. I know that it's gonna end up well. And even if you go through like a tough time, like in the end, if it's not for your health, like what's the like what can happen, right? It's like it's easy, right? As long as you are healthy, everything is gonna be fine. And I think like that's something that I take very very seriously, and that's probably the only thing that would make me real concerned. But when it comes to anything else, basically, just deal with it, and you go through a tough time, and then it's gonna be better.
Yeah, it's like when my kids cry, I like set a timer for 20 minutes, and I'm like, this will be over soon.
That's it.
And then their mind changes. No, but for me, it took a lot of work because I was like so workaholic-y, and I was like, I'm not going to be happy. And I did that for so long, where like I'm just going to obsess about it. That for me to learn how to like come out of that and to be happy now, I started reading, and then once I got those lessons of like how to think, like if you like as humans we can if you have a favorite author or something, you can think like them, right? Like after you've consumed enough of their content. And so for me, I was really happy that that type of stuff existed because it allowed me to say like, oh, this is how happy people think, right? They find the positive in things. And I didn't. Like I was pessimistic, I was negative, I was like really introverted, and then I saw like, oh, what I'm doing is something that just kind of happened. Like it's the way I realize I'm in this situation, and now I need to get tools to get out of it.
Yeah, and it's like, I think that the mindset is the essence of everything, and if you are gonna approach everything from like the negative point of view, you are kind of against yourself because you will never do good. You will always look at the negative parts of what can happen, and it will happen. If you constantly keep thinking about that and you don't look at the positive side, then I'm sorry, but you are hurting yourself, and you need to start thinking positively, and then good things will happen to you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is connected to like diet and fitness. I used to be 300 pounds. I used to be very big.
Seriously?
Yeah. I was like this big.
Where did that go?
When did that go? So when I was 13, around 13, I got hit by a car, and then and I got really depressed, and then I just started eating a lot, and I was pretty fat like through high school, and then I wanted to get laid because like everyone started getting laid in high school, and so I started to lose some weight then, and then I lost the rest of it like, middle and end of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I lost the weight, but then that was a big realization of like like you kind of when you're that big, you kind of like lie to yourself like, oh, my brain is like, I'm a smart person, my brain it's separate from my body, right? But it's not. Like my physical athleticism or like my level of physical capability is directly connected to how well my brain works.
100%.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. And like when I have a tough time, I tend to like make very poor decisions when it comes to healthy habits, working out, eating clean, and it kind of like all falls apart. Like when you work 14, 16 hours a day, you can't really keep in mind that you should also eat healthy, and then like you have no time to squeeze in a workout. And like even like I have these periods here and there, and I always like go off the track a little bit, but then I think it's important to like have some self-awareness, know that it's happening, and see that okay, now I need to put a lot of effort into figuring this out. But once you actually figure it out, then you go back on the track, and that's pretty much what happens to me from time to time. That like if there is an obstacle in the way, it's hard to keep everything in line and follow like all the habits
like
and
to keep
and
it
the good
perfect.
Yeah. Like I strive to I'm a perfectionist in a way, and I strive to have everything perfect, but it's an aspirational goal. It's not something that I will get to ever, because it's as you mentioned earlier, it's getting like as I progress, it's getting further and further, because I know what are the things that can be improved, and so on and so on. So if you don't think of it as an aspirational goal, then you will always struggle because you will never reach it.
Yeah, it's like the cycle of life, right? Like you know where you want to go, and you have to be like discipline yourself, but then you also have to be the one that like lets up on that discipline and moderate it. You know, like how hard you're pushing. And like I notice like if I'm pushing too hard at work, instantly I'm like, oh, I haven't worked out in like a week, and I'm like, I gotta stop because I gotta get back to that working out, because that's when I'm the happiest. That's when I'm operating the best.
Yeah, and for me it's multiple things. It's good eating habits, working out, getting enough sleep. Yeah. These are probably the top 3.
They did some. I was listening to some content somewhere about they were testing people's DNA and then depriving them of sleep, and then the more or the less sleep they got, the more their DNA degraded, and the more susceptible they were to like all sorts of genetic issues and diseases and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, gotta get the sleep.
I 100% agree, and like the only like I rarely get sick. But there is I basically know how to get sick immediately. If I know if someone would need a recipe how to get sick, I have one. But it helps me to avoid that, right? And if I keep working out, and if I sleep enough, and I don't drink a whole lot, it's like I can go through like a a flu season, and like, yeah, nothing will touch me. But if I don't sleep enough, and I don't work out, so I don't like keep my body in shape, and then I go end up like drinking and clubbing for a little bit, it's like immediate.
Yeah, it just deteriorates
Yeah,
your body so
like
quickly.
your body is weak, and yeah, it's super vulnerable to, any kinds of viruses that are everywhere these days.
So, when you work out, do you follow anybody on YouTube, or do you like have planned workouts? Like, how do you learn the exercises that you want to do?
I actually, that's a good question. I hate like following certain, like, for me, when I hit the gym, like, I do a lot of thinking at work, and when I hit the gym, I don't want to be thinking what I should be doing. I don't even want to be like looking up some workouts or anything. So for me, the favorite is to do coach classes. So basically, I show up on time. There's a trainer. He tells me what to do. I do it. I leave my best there. And yeah, I go a lot to Barry's Bootcamp. That's probably my favorite these days. I like Peloton a lot.
Yeah.
So I have the treadmill, and yeah, that for me is like on demand whenever I want. I have a trainer at my disposal. There is also other people participating, so it kind of feels nice. And I don't have to think about what to do, and this is for what I do for the most of my workouts, and then yeah, I do a little bit of CrossFit when I feel like it, because like otherwise Barry's and Peloton, it's a lot of cardio and a little bit of strength. So I try to mix that with a lot of weightlifting and CrossFit to get some strength.
I like that you bring that up, the coach classes, because like when somebody has, like, as the founders or CEOs, like everybody's always looking to you like, what are we doing? Like, what's the plan? Even if you have like the best, like you have best people and they can delegate and they can operate, but there's still a team looking for you to figure out like what's up, and to go into an environment where you've got someone who knows exactly what they're doing and you can just participate.
Yeah.
It's like, it's freeing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. And like, for example, when we do team buildings, and for example, we do some activities and we are set up in teams, although it's the same people, right? It's the same people that I work with every day. I so much enjoy a different dynamic. So we pick someone to lead the team, and you see how that person suddenly like performs, right, when they can command me what to do and not the other way, pretty much. And that I really enjoy. That's so much fun.
Yeah, and I haven't thought about that. That's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, if you do a team building exercise and you have someone else who's leading, like, that you've taken to, you get to watch your team respond to that person. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. And like we do that. We do these like bigger team buildings at least once a year, and then we basically put the entire company together in one place, and we do certain of these activities, and it's great. And like, to be honest, it even now when I'm thinking about it, it even informed some of my decisions who to promote, because I saw how they acted in like certain leadership positions, and
without you see how they act without you.
And like it helped me to kind of see more into what's the skills of somebody. So yeah,
that's a good one. I haven't heard that. Like, I hear a lot about different test or analysis or assessments, different things like that, but I've never heard of just go put them in a situation with another leader, and that's actually really interesting.
And you get to watch from like being a member of the team rather than being the person leading the whole thing, and that's inspiring.
So what's like an example of this type of activity? Like if I was a leader and I wanted to replicate this, what type of activity could you put someone through?
There's, I think, a whole lot of different team building activities that you can do. Usually, when we do something like that, it's part like sport activities.
Okay.
But it could be like some brain teasers, figuring something out as a group, or doing some like challenging exercise in terms of like getting through obstacles, right? And you need someone to kind of suggest what is gonna be the steps that we'll be taking, and yeah, there's just many.
Yeah, those are good, like obstacle courses,
Yeah.
right? What's the one when they lock you in the rooms and you have to solve your way out?
Yeah, that like the escape rooms.
Yeah.
That's I have done many of these with the team, and yeah, this is probably like we do for like smaller team.
Yeah, that's a small
team
yeah.
buildings. So when we go and it's like 5-6 of us.
Yeah.
And that also kind of helps to get the team together because you need to collaborate. And yeah, we have actually done one recently and it was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you get to collaborate outside of your normal roles.
Yeah.
Right. That's cool.
And you get to be a little creative.
Which is good. It's a core
Are escape rooms popular around here?
Yeah, we actually have one that's pretty custom. They build their own and then they sell them like to people all over the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the name of it, but it's about 10-15 minutes from here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty
Nice.
cool. I talked to the owner guy. Yeah, he like put my information in when I was buying, and then when I was in the escape room, he like looked me up because of my domain or whatever. And then he was like, I ended up hanging out with him for 2 hours. He's giving me behind the scenes, showing me the Raspberry Pi controllers and how they build their custom escape rooms and all the stuff that they do.
That's
and
cool.
Yeah, so we like got to geek out for a while. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, one of our former colleagues actually has built an escape room in Prague.
Oh yeah?
And that's yeah. So I also got to see what it looks behind the scene, and it's pretty nice. And like he's obsessed with all these like little gadgets and the Raspberry Pis and everything. So it was super exciting gig for him.
Is English pretty common in Prague?
Yeah, it is.
So I could get by without a translator?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like among the younger generation, it's like, yeah, you have no problem. If you go outside of Prague, then you might end up in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Now, you will always figure it out, but like it's probably not going to be every single person that you meet that will be able to speak English. But in Prague, yeah.
Yeah, even in the United States, I mean, if you go outside of a city, English will sound so different, it's hard to even understand.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as a founder, one of the things I was really interested in, and so is Jake, our producer, he was really interested in knowing, like, what's the most difficult thing that you've learned, lesson that you've learned as a founder?
Most difficult? I would probably talk about how culture is important when you are picking the right people for the team. Because in the end, that's been something that I think negatively impacted us on the way throughout the entire journey, that we did not pay enough attention to the culture that we have created, and we brought people on board that were not a fit with the culture of the company. And it's not that easy to, and then you don't realize it for 6 months, 12 months. But once you do, that's you realize that the company is actually directed somewhere where you don't even want to be part of it. So
right, and that's when you realize.
Yeah, and like so, I think having the culture pieces figured out and making sure that every single hire that you make matches that, I think it's very crucial. And for us, it's been one of the difficult things to kind of figure out and get through, because once you have some, and like it's probably like when you are building a company, you can't expect that everything is gonna go super smoothly, and you in the end, that's what entrepreneurship is about, right? That you get through obstacles. And, STRV overall is I think the culture for us is, and like I don't want to sound silly because everybody talks about culture, and like I rarely do, but the kind of relationship that I have with pretty much all of the people on the team is super important for me, and like I don't want anybody on the team to feel like they are not valued or they are not 100% part of the team, because then what's the point, right? And in the end, that's like kind of the purpose of what we are building. We are not a huge company. We will never grow into thousands and thousands of people. It's not small. It's not like super.
You guys have like 200 plus people across like 5 countries, right?
It's not super like tight in terms of like that you would have a small team. It would be like a family. But to be honest, like I feel like it's a little bigger family. Yeah. And I think that someone could say that about the 1,000 people company. I can't imagine that, but the reason I can't imagine that is also because I have not run such a company. So, but in the end, that for me is more important, that we keep the team very compact, and that we, rather than growing in terms of the number of people, we keep growing in terms of doing better things. Yeah. And that's kind of the future that I envision for the company. Yeah, I don't mind growing a little bit in terms of the size of the team, but I would like to grow a lot in terms of what are the projects that we can engage on, what are the projects that we run on our own, and so on.
Because like you can only focus on so many things at once, right?
Yeah.
And
usually one.
Yeah. Right. And so like if you were focused on number of people, you're like, oh, I've got 200 people this year, I want 300 people next year, I want 400 people, that takes away from you saying we're doing amazing work in this area on this project this year, we want to do something.
And like when I say that you can only focus on one thing, like I always take way more on my plate than I can actually handle, and like I deal with it somehow, but I know that like that's probably the best way to do things if you focus on one thing and then you give it everything, unless you are like Elon Musk and you can run like 4 companies at a time.
Right? But what is he focusing on? But you also see his health. Like that's one thing I've paid a lot of attention to. Like if
is that bad?
If you look at his pictures, like if you Google search his pictures, he's constantly like gaining a ton of weight, and like he always looks. A lot of times he looks like he's not slept well, but then other times he looks like really happy and healthy, and so I'm like, oh, this is just his.
Well, I have to say that over the past decade, he got way better looking than what he looked like before. I think the same goes for Jeff Bezos.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess those billions of dollars make you better looking.
Yeah. You got guns,
right?
You got everything.
See that picture of Bezos looking jacked? I was like, Jesus Christ,
that's bad. Yeah,
I know. I know.
No, I think it's good because like they realize that it's like that's the way to do it, right? You need to look healthy, and in shape, so you represent the strength of the company.
Yeah.
If you look bad and you look like
Tired and
it's like it's not probably not gonna give a whole lot of good impressions. I mean, it works for some people, but seems like Warren Buffett doesn't care about healthy habits a whole lot.
No, he's just enjoying life. I wonder if he'll like end up replacing all of his organs and becoming like bionic, or if he's like too old and doesn't want to. He doesn't like invest much in technology. So I am curious a little bit more about the. Do you want more coffee though?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I still got some.
All right. All I have to do is yell. A little bit more coffee. So like people that are listening, they hear about the culture and they hear about you, like, and how culture is really important. But like, what type of person would thrive within your company?
Yeah. I think that in the end comes with the vision of what we want to do as a company, and we have an internal definition of the vision that I don't talk a whole lot about publicly.
Right.
But basically our goal is to work on top shit products and making sure that we do top shit.
Yeah.
And I will probably not go and pitch that to a client. We can do top shit for you.
Yeah.
They might not get it. But
I like it. It's definitely like our generation.
Yeah. And like
yeah.
it really resonates with the team.
Yeah.
And in the end, for me, I want to see top shit everywhere. Not just in terms of the work that we produce, but
Dude, yes.
But in everything that we do as a company. So when we do events, I want these events to be top shit. When we do merchandising, for example, for STRV, right? That's why we put
best hoodie ever.
That's why we put so much passion and time into it, because in the end, like anyone can create just a simple T-shirt with a logo, and we have one too.
Yeah.
But if you want to,
but you can't buy it. Like you can't buy it.
That's right.
You have to go work. You have to work
but
or become a customer.
If you become a customer,
or you work,
or like a really good friend of us,
or a good friend. Okay, yeah,
that works too. But we put a lot of time into these things that that kind of represent that we wanna be doing really good things. And then to your question, what kind of people would thrive in the company? It's the people that wanna do great work, that want to learn, that want to go above and beyond to make things happen. And I think in tech, this is a relatively common thing. You just have to be honest, I have not, throughout my career, and fortunately enough, I have not seen a whole lot of lazy engineers. I mean, there are some, and we have had some, not for a long time. They got filtered out pretty quickly. But I think it's quite common that people see the importance of constantly like learning new things and getting better, and this is the kind of mindset that fits extremely well with the company. And then I think it helps us to proceed and get to more interesting projects, come up with cool new ideas, and then implement them. So I think that's the number one kind of definition of the person. But what I would also mention is that if like the people that have high ego are gonna always fail with STRV. The team will somehow just not accept them. And like if you feel you are more than anyone else on the team, it's not gonna work. and I don't like. Yeah, I have certain position with the company, but do I feel like I'm more than anybody else? Do I feel like someone could do my job maybe even better at someone? Yeah, I'm open to it. If someone comes and proves that he will do a better job than me as a CEO of the company, I'm more than happy to switch. I'll watch.
Yeah.
If someone can do more for the company, then I'm gonna be happy to be part of it. And I think having no ego, or at least like very low ego, is pretty much a requirement, because like, yeah, even like when I talk to like, yeah, pretty much anybody on the team, I want to treat them well. I want to like, I don't want them to feel like I'm anything more than them. Yeah, I have a certain position in the hierarchy, but doesn't mean that I'm a different kind of person otherwise, right? And like for me, this is probably the second highest priority when it comes to selecting people. And when I was talking about the most difficult kind of things, that was also part of it, that we have unfortunately had people that had high ego, and yeah, in the end the team rejected them, so
Yeah.
it worked out. It just took a little while.
Well, it's like it's incentive alignment. Like, if everyone on the team is focusing on doing top shit, they're like focusing on doing a really good job, and their goal is to make this like piece of art that's like amazing, that they couldn't do alone, but they could do with other great people. If you have a great person who's like phenomenal and world class, and they don't have ego, and you could put a bunch of those people together, the product you're going to get is going to be 10 times better than anything else. Yeah,
100%. And like, I don't want the let's say a member of the sales team who brings in the project to be the one that gets the entire credit for it. I don't want the engineer to feel that they are getting the entire credit. It's about the collaboration of the entire team to make this work. And in the end, I think that's how we create kind of the setup and the products that we create. And that's why the companies want to work with us. It's not that like, in the end, like we could say that what we do is a commodity, right? Because you have probably thousands of other firms that offer the same kind of service, right? They also do design and engineering. They also build custom software.
It's not all the same.
But it's not.
It's definitely. Like,
it's not all the same, and you have to really position yourself as like, this is, if you end up partnering up with us, this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And I think like you have to also keep doing this for a certain period of time, and then you start realizing that you are actually meeting very interesting people. It's not like random people reaching out to you that they would like to build a website. It's like legit serial entrepreneurs that have built successful businesses before, and that are reaching out to you because they heard great things, and they heard from other people that worked with you that you can do a really good job, and that they say that you are the only company that they should consider.
That's the best lead.
Yeah, it's like when you get a referral like that, then it's basically a done deal.
Yeah, it's like, let's just figure out the logistics, and here's how we do it.
But you only realize that after you actually invest a lot into making that happen.
It takes a long time. Like a lot of patience, which I guess is, in hindsight, it's why you always hear people give the speeches like, you really have to love what you do, because you're going to have to do it for a while. Yeah. Yeah,
you have to do it for a while. There is like there's a couple of kind of, stories here and there about some quick wins. But even those, you don't hear the full background story, so you don't know that like for example, a couple of my friends from the Czech Republic. I'm not sure if you have heard of the game Beat Saber,
No.
the VR game.
Oh, I saw a picture of you playing it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically it was two guys doing like indie games together for years. They have done a lot of games. Yeah. And yeah, in the end, then like with Beat Saber, it was a huge hit for them. It really picked up traction, and I think that even they matched it with like up and coming piece of technology that's really popular. They recently got bought by Facebook, so it was a huge and like Beat Saber as a game was out for probably I don't know 2-3 years. I don't know exactly, but not a long time. But that does not mean that like there was no like 10 plus years experience prior to that where they have been just building apps, and some of them were relatively successful, some of them not, but nothing to compare with like now the huge success of Beat Saber. And I think this is what it's about, right? That you get to hear about the success they had, and only mentioning the kind of short period of time, right, since they launched it. But you don't hear about them trying to figure out what's the right idea that is gonna really nail it. And I think like in the end, Angry Birds, it's kind of very similar example. I think that the company that produced Angry Birds, Rovio, they have done like tens of different games until they hit Angry Birds, and like you have to just keep hustling, and at some point you will get there. You never know when.
I know. That's why, for me, I made a commitment to myself probably, 7 or 8 years into it. And I said, I have to be willing to die trying at this. Like, I have to be willing to say, I'm going to keep shooting and keep going after it and keep getting back up until I die. And that's the mentality I have. And because that's the only way I'd respect myself ending up on my deathbed. Like, no matter what happens, as long as I keep going, as long as I get up and try again, then I will, that is my success. My success is never stop trying. No matter how much success I achieve. Like, just keep doing it again and again and again, so that when I sit there and I'm dying and I'm looking back on my life, I'm like, okay, I did it.
Yeah, it was a hell of a journey.
I can control that. I can control it. I can't control a dollar amount of success, but I can control me never giving up. Yeah.
That you can control 100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you have a podcast.
That's right.
It's called
Safe or Brave. Yeah.
Dude, I love it. I love the name.
I mean, fits with my culture a lot.
Yeah.
Going outside of your comfort zone. And like, to be honest, for me, like, yeah, with the Safe or Brave podcast, I talk with different people from not just tech, but pretty much everything that interests me. I do it mostly for myself.
Yeah.
So I get to hang out with a lot of interesting people. But I try to focus on like the life stories and what made people to get to a place where they are. And going outside of comfort zone is something that for me personally is super appealing, because I know that in certain situations I'm like, I just chicken out and like I don't go outside of a comfort zone. But in other situations I seek that. I want to do it. I want to do crazy stuff. I want to do like heli skiing in Alaska and start an avalanche there, and then fortunately enough get out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I focus on in the podcast.
Yeah, and we'll put links to your Instagram account, because you've got some really cool pictures on there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And the adventure. So I also have some people that I going to give you, like, recommend you to have on the podcast. I know we looked through some other ones and gave you some people before, but then when I saw your when I saw your podcast and learned more about you, I was like, yeah, you definitely have to. Ben from BIM Object, he started out as an architect, like an actual architect, like buildings.
Yeah.
Then saw the problem with waste and architecture, created a startup called BIM Object. They have a couple hundred people. They're publicly traded. They're in San Francisco, Sweden, and Japan, a couple other countries. But he does that. He's like one of the co-founders of that. But he also races like Porsches and like races high performance cars.
Uh-huh.
You know, and that's a physically demanding activity because you're strapped in there. It's a lot of physical work. And I went over to Sweden and hung out with him for like a couple days. Just a super cool guy. Like you would love to have dinner with this guy. You'd love to hang out with him. And then another guy, Rich Palmer from Gravity. He has a cool backstory. We have an episode of him, but he's in Boston. But he was like a high end, like I think like financial services person, like Wall Street type, like high stress. But then he had, I think, a brain aneurysm or some big health scare, and he was like, "Dude, life's short." So he moved to Boston and started like a healthcare technology startup, and they've got like good design. They're building a cool product over in Boston. So I think those two people would be like really good like stories. For
I would love to have them on the podcast too. So if you can make the intro, I'll make sure that I take good care of them. Yeah,
I also saw you guys do some work for like Microsoft and some pretty big brands. So,
that too, yeah.
Yeah, so we get hook you up with like Kevin Scott, like different people that have been on the show, and I mean, I don't know. You're just I really like that most of the podcasts we do are remote, but when we talked, you're like, yeah, man, I'll fly out.
I'm coming down.
I'll come down. You took a red eye down here, and we got the podcast, and like I thought that was so cool, and so. Like, however we can help you, whatever we can do.
Yeah, for me, doing the in-person experience makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
And I happen to have a couple of meetings in Miami, so.
Oh, nice.
Works out.
Yeah.
Works out for me.
Are you flying or are you driving down to
I'm
Miami?
driving.
Yeah. It's not a bad drive.
There is only I think only a couple of flights a day from Tampa to Miami.
Yeah, it's not easy because people...
And it's just like, from here it's about 3-hour drive, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. I'll tell you after the show, like, which way I think you should drive.
Okay.
Because there's, like, two very distinct ways.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah. Dude, this is awesome. Is there anything else that we didn't get to that you want to cut? I don't even know how long we've been talking. This is actually a good question I had that I wanted to know. What is your media diet like? Like, what type of media do you consume?
Interesting. I for the most part, stay away from media and politics. But there is some bits and pieces of... I listen to podcasts a lot.
Yeah.
And that's my source of information. I receive a couple of newsletters that I read through pretty much on a daily basis. I'm subscribed to the New York Times kind of breaking news a newsletter and like the daily kind of recap. We have actually just partnered up with the Future Party, which is basically a company that puts together a nice curated newsletter with really cool content. And like I don't get to like spend a whole lot of time reading, but their newsletter is something like they have really good stuff there.
What's it called?
It's called the Future Party.
The Future Party?
Yeah. And so that I've been receiving that newsletter for the past 3-4 weeks now, and like every single one is just bomb.
It sounds fun.
Yeah,
it's like the future should be a party.
It's
right?
It is fun, and like because I think their way of their tone of voice in the end is something that like really resonates with me, and I think it resonates with STRV, and in even with the way how we have our tone of voice set up. So that for me is also a good source of information, and there. Then that's probably it, and then the rest is whatever comes up on social media.
Yeah.
Random stuff.
Yeah. I like podcasts a lot. I like crafting and like building the content too.
Yeah.
Like I found that the more time I spend building stuff, the less time I spend consuming stuff.
But I think it's very natural, and like if I record a podcast every day, then for me it's a huge exchange of information. So that kind of fulfills me, and I am not like, I don't go and need to look for more.
Right.
And so for me, talking to people is like
social networking. That's hilarious, right? It's like the original. I found that too. Like surrounding yourself with really bright people that are all surrounded by bright people, and everyone's doing great work. When you get to be constant, like your customers, like you get to interact. They're smart people. Like you get to interact with.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're super smart people.
Yeah, and so you get to talk with them all the time.
And you get to spend probably 50% of the time talking about the business, and the other 50 about some interesting stuff that is happening out there.
Because that interesting stuff that's happening out there drives the business.
Yeah.
Like always. Like everything's connected. The entire economy is connected with the entire social world. Like everything's driving everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's the people who can pay attention to that in the right way, that see new opportunities and then can bring value to others. And then that's like growing the business.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, I'm a fan of Elon Musk, but I'm gonna give you a hypothetical question. Okay. All right. Let's say
it's gonna be tough.
Pretty easy. I think you'll like it. So let's say you're driving to Miami, and pulls up next to you is this brand new Tesla, the funky looking Tesla.
Cybertruck.
Yeah. Cybertruck. Yeah. And there's like a hot tub in the back of the Cybertruck. Right. There's a bunch of robots in the cyber hot tub. Girl robots, maybe. And then rolls down the window, and it's Elon Musk in there. Right? He's like, "What up, bro?" And you go, and you get in the Cybertruck, passenger side. Yeah. But that seat, the seat of the passenger side Cybertruck, is a time machine. And you go back to yourself right when you were doing studying in the UK, or in that part of the world, and you get to give yourself one piece of advice. What would it be?
Oof. It was kind of a mysterious question right from the beginning. I was like, okay, there is Cybertruck, there is Elon Musk. What is it gonna be about? Now I see where you're going. In the end, I think like I would probably trust myself a lot more, and I would just make the decisions based on my gut feeling more, because it has always paid off for me. And like for some reason I like like with my family they saw that like if I have something like tough to figure out, for me I go and I lie in the bed for like some time, and then I got it and it's figured out. That's for me, if I can like be still for a little, that helped me a lot to figure stuff out, and I have been using it for a long time. And like in the end, the piece of advice will be to kind of not to be afraid to basically make the decisions based on gut feeling, because in the end it really paid off, and I think it creates a good culture, and if you believe in it, it will happen.
Yeah, and then you don't regret it either, right?
And if it goes bad, then just change the direction and you fix it.
Yeah, because you make a decision, and you can just make another one.
Yeah, but yeah. Exactly. You just have to like feel good about the decision and like, yeah. I don't want to say that it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad decision, but if you feel good about it, yeah, it will lead you to like a better future.
Yeah. And then I've just found, I know it's like trite or people say it a lot, but just making decisions, like, and understanding how you feel about them when you're making them and paying attention to them, you can begin to develop your own internal compass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then, like, to be honest, like, there's not a whole lot of things that I would do differently now if I would be, like, starting over again. Well, I would probably not start because, like, I can see that it's friggin' difficult.
It's so difficult. It's that beautiful human part of, like, oh, we could do that. Oh, that's easy. And then you go, and then you end up doing that, and you go so far, you're like, and then you look back, you're like, whoa, look how far I've come. Yeah. That's why I see, like, a lot of I like your business model because you can spin out stuff from like labs. Like when you have a design agency, you can build stuff and test stuff with your profit and then spin stuff out that catches on.
Yeah. That's what we do actually. We run some products on our own, and like I told you that 3 of my co-founders are actually working on a spin-off.
Yeah, we were looking them up, and we were looking at David, Martin, and Pavel, and we were like, well, he was a CTO there, and it says he's still there, but he's also working, and I was like, he's probably from the labs. He's probably running a...
Yeah, that's right.
So he's kind of like CTO, but he's like running the spin-offs.
Yeah, he's involved in a lot of the spin-offs that we have done over the years.
Nice. I love what you guys get to do.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
No, it's not bad. It's fun.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Dude, we did it. We
Super
made a
happy.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boom. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this interview. I hope it brought you a ton of value. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tune in to the Modern CTO channel weekly for more amazing videos just like this one.